If you've clicked on this video, then chances are that you have been thinking about changing your career. And I know that career change can be something that is very, very daunting. People who want to change careers usually fall into one of these two groups. In the first group are those people who already exactly know how they want to change their careers. For example, from being a teacher to becoming a software engineer. In the second group are those people who are really unhappy with their current career and they have a strong feeling that they desperately need to make some kind of change to their career, but they just don't know what. If you fall into the second group, then you have some work cut out for you. You have to first find out what you actually want. Today in this video, I want to talk about the first group, about those people who actually already know what kind of career change they want to make, but for some reasons until now still haven't started the process yet. In case you're new to this channel, I make videos related to career change, and motivation. So if you are someone who is planning to make a big career change in the new year, or you have some really important career goals that you want to achieve, then this channel is for you and you might want to consider subscribing. For most people, changing careers is something that is really, really hard, especially if you've been working in your current career for more than 5 or even 10 years. Or 15 or 20 or 25 years. Even simply changing your job can be difficult, but when you talk about career change, then the whole challenge is compounded. It's not only about a change of environment and a new boss and new colleagues and maybe new job duties, but here you find yourself confronted with a new industry, and oftentimes you have to learn a lot of things from scratch. You have to learn and adapt very fast, and oftentimes you have to dramatically change your mindset. Many people mistakenly assume that the hardest part about changing your career is the fact that you have to learn a lot of new things and acquire new knowledge. And perhaps the fact in some cases that you have to go back to school to get a second degree or a certification. And on top of that, you might have to save up some money in order to afford that education. But these are not the biggest challenges, because these are all concrete things that you can plan and that you can check off your list, such as save money, go back to school to get a degree, get a certification, and so on. I left my very successful and well-paying job in banking to pursue a career in the entertainment industry when I was almost 30. And believe me, I spent a good year or more than a year intensely thinking about and planning for that decision. So I can tell you based on my own experience what actually the hardest thing about changing your career is. This is also based on my observation of other people, my friends, family members, acquaintances of whom I know that they are really unhappy in their current career, but for many reasons still haven't started the process of changing their careers, although they know that it will take them a long time. The first thing is comparing yourself to someone. It could be a friend, a family member, or even someone famous who is already successful in the career that you want to be in. And you look at that person and you think to yourself, oh man, if I only start now, there's so much that I have to catch up on in order to get to the level of that person. Let's say that you're the head of marketing in your company and you're really successful. And the reason for that is because you've been working really, really hard for the last 10 years on your career. But now what you actually want to do is own your own business. And you look at these other business owners who've already made it, who are already successful, and you think to yourself, oh my, how long, if I start now, will I have to work on being a successful business owner until I get to that level? And by thinking in that way, you've already given up before you've even started. For a wider scope on this topic, check out my other video on comparing your own life to other people's lives. The second thing is not comparing yourself to other people, but comparing yourself to your own level of success in your current career. And in the earlier example, you would think, I'm the head of marketing now. I'm doing really well and I've worked really hard. Oops, just dropped this, my Bluetooth remote. And in the earlier example, you would think, I'm the head of marketing now. I'm doing really well and I've worked 10 long years to be where I am now. But if I change careers now, if I try and start something new, like becoming a software engineer, I'm basically a nobody. I'm starting from the bottom. I'm basically like a fresh grad again. And that kind of thinking can really attack your pride, because right now you can say that you are somebody. You are, for example, this head of marketing, and you can tell people who you are and you have a clear position in society. But if you're trying to change your career, start something new, for example, become the software engineer, and you start learning that from scratch, and then people ask you, what do you do? It's kind of difficult to answer that question. And that is a scenario that many people are afraid to face. The third thing is the realization that you kind of have to repeat the whole process of learning again. For example, getting a second degree or a certification and preparing yourself for 2 or 3 years before you can really get into that new career. And for some people, especially for people who really enjoy the process of learning itself, that might not be a problem. But for other people who are a bit more on the impatient side, that can turn into a burden. And I am kind of a mixture of the two. While I do tremendously enjoy every step of the learning process, I must confess that sometimes some impatience does sneak in. Because the reality is that it can take you years to change your career and to settle in. And sometimes it can take even longer than that, depending on how ambitious or how extreme your career change is. So now you might ask, are these really the most difficult things? Aren't there more difficult things in relation to career change, such as preparing yourself financially for a career change, or convincing your spouse, or perhaps even your parents that you're doing the right thing? And I would say, although these two things that I just mentioned are also extremely difficult to manage, the things that I mentioned earlier related to mindset, your own mindset, are by far the most challenging things. Because as soon as you have certainty, you yourself are utterly convinced that a career change must happen. If you are in the right mindset, then you will be able to tackle all of the rest. Now, before you say, why are you telling me about all these difficult things about career change? Are you telling me not to do it? Here's the solution. First, let's remind ourselves again that in order to achieve anything that is worthwhile, we have to always face a set of challenges. And in order to conquer those challenges, first we have to be able to identify them. Of course, everyone has their own individual challenges that they must face. But this challenge related to self-image and changing that self-image is something that is universal. The three things that I just talked about, comparing yourself to where other people already are, or comparing yourself to the level you are currently at your current career, and the impatience, knowing that you have to learn many things from scratch. Those are all mindsets that block and hinder your career change. So if you've been struggling to even start your career change process, the only way that you can finally get this started is to address these mind blocks one by one. Because it will take me some time to run through all of this. I will be making separate videos going through each of these mind blocks. But for now, I'd just like to very briefly summarize how to tackle these mind blocks, which is number 1, changing your self-image, and number 2, changing the way you view time. If you want to be able to stop comparing yourself to other people and stop setting unrealistic expectations toward yourself, then you need to be open to change your self-image. More about that in another video. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on any of my future videos, then you might want to hit that subscribe button now. And also don't forget to hit that little notification bell, because only if you do will YouTube notify you if there are new videos from me. The reason why I wanted to share with you about these difficult things is not to discourage you at all. On the contrary, the sooner we become aware of these mind blocks, the faster we can actually start changing our careers. You might ask me, so do you have it all figured out? And the answer is no, I don't. But what I can tell you is this: every time that I get frustrated, I ask myself, what is the real problem? And as soon as I can honestly tell myself what the actual problem is, and usually it's something related to my mindset, that is when I can finally find an answer and make progress. If you are in the midst of changing your career, or perhaps you are at the very beginning of it, I'd be really curious to know what you think the hardest things in the process are. Please share with me in the comments. I hope that this video was useful to you. Don't forget to check out my channel for other videos on career change, and motivation. As always, thank you so much for watching. It was awesome to have you guys around. Have an awesome new year 2020, and I hope to see you again soon.